This is the story of Bill Gates, a young boy who loved computers long before the world understood them. He wasn't the smartest in every class. He wasn't the most talented in every subject. But he had one powerful strength, an unstoppable curiosity. While other kids played outside, Bill spent hours learning, typing, and exploring how computers think. He didn't wait for someone to teach him. He taught himself. Every day, he tried something new. Every mistake became a new lesson. Today, the world knows him as the co-founder of Microsoft and one of the most influential leaders in technology. But his journey didn't start with success. It started with passion, courage, and the belief that ideas can change the world. Bill Gates reminds us of a simple truth. If you stay curious, keep learning, and take action, you can create something incredible. The night had a quietness that felt almost magical. A soft wind moved through the trees outside, and a young boy sat near the window of his room, staring at the little world below. The street lights glowed like tiny stars on the ground, and the houses around him were silent, as if the whole neighborhood had fallen into a long, peaceful sleep. But inside that small room, a different kind of world was awake. A world full of ideas, questions, and dreams that refused to rest. The boy's name was Bill. He was only 13, but his mind worked like a restless engine, always spinning, always searching. While other children of his age thought about games, school, and friends, Bill's thoughts wandered to strange, exciting places. He wondered how machines worked, how numbers followed hidden rules, and how the world could change if people dared to imagine the impossible. He leaned closer to the window and whispered to himself, as if talking to the night, "There must be more. Something bigger. Something I can build." Nobody knew it then. Not his parents, not his teachers, not even his closest friends. But the boy sitting in that quiet room would one day change the way the world lived, worked, and connected. He would build something so powerful that it would sit on desks, in homes, in schools, and eventually in every pocket around the globe. But at that moment, he was just a boy with a mind full of fire and a heart full of dreams. In school, Bill wasn't the loud type. He wasn't the boy who stood in the middle of the class telling stories or making everyone laugh. He was quiet, but not because he lacked confidence. He was quiet because his thoughts were always deeper than the moment he was living. Sometimes, during lessons, he would suddenly drift into another world, a world of patterns and possibilities. And when the teacher called his name, he would blink, return from his thoughts, and smile politely, trying to hide the ideas bouncing inside his mind. His parents, Mary and Bill Sr., were both strong-willed, intelligent people. They believed deeply in discipline, kindness, and hard work. They also believed that their children should grow up with curiosity, not fear. So when they noticed their son had an unusual fascination for reading, everything from science books to historical stories, they encouraged him. His mother often said, "If you want your child to reach the sky, give him books instead of wings." Bill read all the time. At the dining table, in the hallway, on the sofa, at night under the covers with a flashlight, books were his doorway to everywhere. They taught him things nobody around him talked about. They helped him see the world not as it was, but as it could be. One afternoon, while returning from school, Bill saw a small computer terminal at a local university's computer room. It was large and strange, nothing like the sleek machines we know today. It hummed softly, with blinking lights and a body made of metal that looked ancient and powerful at the same time. Most students walked past it without a second glance. But Bill stopped. He stared at it the way an artist stares at a blank canvas, with awe, curiosity, and excitement. He touched the keys slowly, almost reverently. He didn't know it then, but this was the moment that would change everything. Like many life-changing moments, it arrived quietly, without warning, without celebration. But in the heart of the boy standing before the machine, a spark had been lit. He found out that the terminal connected to something called a mainframe computer, which was huge, hidden in a cold room somewhere inside the building. He asked the staff if he could try it. They smiled, amused by his excitement, and allowed him to spend some time there. That first hour felt like stepping into a world made entirely for him. Commands, codes, logic. It felt natural to him, like a language he had known in another lifetime. He came back the next day and the day after that. Soon, he was visiting the place almost every afternoon. His teachers noticed how fascinated he had become, and instead of stopping him, they encouraged him. They believed that children learn best when they follow the roads that excite them. And Bill's road was clear. It was long, it was hard, and it was uncertain, but it lit his heart with a fire that nothing else could. He met a boy named Paul one day, Paul Allen. Quiet, thoughtful, brilliant in his own way. Paul was older, calmer, and had the same love for computers. They became friends quickly, not because they were similar in personality, but because they were similar in their hunger to learn. They talked about machines, about mathematics, about the future. Sometimes they talked until the lights in the computer room flickered and the staff had to tell them gently, "It's time to go home." But Bill didn't want to leave. Every minute spent away from code felt like time wasted. He had found his passion, the thing that made him feel alive, sharp, and endlessly curious. One evening, while walking home with Paul, Bill said softly, "What if computers become small enough for everyone to use one day?" Paul laughed lightly. "Maybe one day. But who would even need a computer at home?" Bill smiled in that quiet, mysterious way of his, the way he always did when he knew something others didn't. "Everyone," he said. Years passed. Bill entered Harvard University. It was one of the best universities in the world, and everyone expected him to follow the traditional path, study hard, become a lawyer like his father, get a good job, build a good life. For a moment he tried. He attended classes, participated in discussions, and did everything a good student was supposed to do. But inside him, that old fire continued to burn. The world of computers was changing rapidly. Gates read articles that said a new type of small computer was coming. A computer not for universities, not for big companies, but for normal people. He felt something inside him move the same way it had moved the first time he touched a keyboard. Then one day he read about a company called Micro Instrumentation and Telemetry Systems, MITS. They had created a small computer kit called the Altair 8800. It wasn't powerful by today's standards, but it was a signal. The future he had imagined as a boy was coming true. Bill called Paul immediately. "We need to build software for it," he said. "Do you really think we can?" Paul asked. "I know we can," Bill said firmly. They started working day and night, sometimes forgetting to sleep, sometimes forgetting to eat, completely lost in the world of code. They didn't even have the computer themselves. They had to write software by imagining how it might work. It was like drawing a picture of a place they had never visited. Finally, after weeks of intense work, they took what they had built to MITS. The managers were surprised that two young boys had created something so impressive. Their software ran perfectly. It was a moment of triumph, not because they got recognition, but because they proved to themselves that their dream was possible. With courage, determination, and a deep belief in their abilities, Bill and Paul decided to start a company. They called it Microsoft. In the early days, Microsoft was tiny, just two young men, a dream, and a belief that computers would someday become personal, friendly, and essential. Bill worked with extraordinary focus. His routine was different from everyone else. He slept late, woke up early, worked long hours, and often forgot what day it was. He wasn't driven by money or fame. He was driven by the desire to build a future that didn't yet exist. He pushed hard, not only for himself but also for his team. He was demanding, sometimes intense, but always fair. He believed that if you want to change the world, you must give everything you have. And that is exactly what he did. There were failures too. Some software didn't sell. Some deals went wrong. Some days felt like everything was falling apart. But Bill didn't stop. He believed that learning from failure was better than running from it. His mother once said, "Success is not just about what you achieve. It's about what you overcome." Bill lived by those words. As Microsoft grew, the world began to notice. Slowly, personal computers appeared in offices, schools, and eventually homes. And on those computers, people used Microsoft's software. Simple, friendly, easy to understand. It made computers accessible for ordinary people. The world was changing. And Bill Gates was standing right in the center of that change, shaping it with every decision, every idea, every line of code. Years later, Microsoft introduced Windows, a new, revolutionary system that changed everything. It was smoother, easier, and more visual. It was the beginning of a new era. Bill had fulfilled the dream he whispered to the night as a boy. But the story didn't end there. After reaching the top of the business world, Bill did something unexpected. Instead of sitting comfortably with his wealth, he looked at the world with the same curiosity and concern he had as a young boy. He saw poverty, disease, and suffering. And he asked himself a new question. What good is success if it doesn't help the world? He stepped away from Microsoft's daily work and started the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, one of the biggest charity foundations in history. He worked to fight diseases, help poor countries, improve education, and save lives. People were shocked. But Bill was simply being himself. He had always believed in solving problems. In his childhood, the problem was computers. As an adult, the problem was the world's pain. And he wanted to solve that too. He once said, "If you are lucky enough to have wealth, you should use it to help others. That is the best use of money." Today, Bill Gates is known not only as the founder of Microsoft but also as one of the world's biggest givers. His life teaches us that success is not measured by how much you have, but by how much you give. And maybe that is why his story touches millions. Because it isn't just the journey of a brilliant man. It is the journey of a boy with questions, a teenager with dreams, a young man with courage, and an adult with compassion. His story tells us that curiosity can open doors, hard work can build worlds, failure can shape character, and kindness can change futures. And somewhere, deep inside all of us, there is the same spark Bill felt as a boy, the spark of possibility. The spark of, maybe I can do something great too. Because greatness never begins loudly. It begins quietly, in a small room, late at night, with a simple thought. What if? The question that started Bill's journey still waits for the next dreamer to answer it. And maybe that dreamer is you. Thanks for watching. If this story added even a little spark to your mindset, don't forget to like the video. Hit subscribe and tap the bell icon so you never miss our next drop. From motivational book summaries, to famous personality stories, to life growth lessons that level up your English and your thinking. Keep learning, keep growing. This is English Amplify, signing off.